What's up, everybody? Hunter here. Thanks for joining me on Long Eye Finance. On this channel, what I like to do is follow a bunch of stock pickers and different types of traders on YouTube and in other places like Twitter. And I try to give a overview highlight reel of what they're saying, the overall economy and certain price targets on certain things like the overall stock market and cryptocurrencies. So these are some of the channels that I follow. I kind of have like a mixed bag over here, like All In Podcast, more of a broad overview of the economy. Invest Answers, this guy really is a big crypto bull. He loves Bitcoin and Tesla. And then I also follow Joseph Carlson. He is kind of like a value investor, so kind of a Warren Buffett style trader where he does a bunch of buy and holds, and he's very transparent with his portfolio, so I like him a lot. And Invest with Henry, he's kind of like a options trader, and he is very anti-crypto, so I kind of like to get a bunch of different viewpoints on all the different things here. And then more recently I've been following Gareth Soloway. He's a swing trader. And then Stocks with Josh, he's also, I would kind of say he's like a swing trader as well, but he hasn't really labeled himself as that. So let's get into some of the highlights of today.
This is the signal for the bears to take control again. Lo and behold, today we opened back up inside that channel and we've stayed there all day long, which tells me the bulls are back in control. We saw this about a week ago where the bears showed a little sign of maybe reversing and seeing selling, and the bulls just roared back. So
I've been waiting for these markets to have a pullback, and I think Gareth is also waiting for the same thing. He's been kind of bearish recently, and he wants to see it break down because they've run up so high, and it just doesn't want to pull back. I wanted to see a pullback, and I want to buy some more during the dip for a potential end of the year rally. And a lot of people are waiting for that dip, and it just does not want to come as expressed by this video. So no pullback just yet. I'm just gonna keep patient and keep waiting for that. All right, so let's take a look at this clip about the Bitcoin prices.
You see that 42 is sort of the top and bottom of almost every support and resistance that you had throughout that entire sort of bull market transition to bear market. And now we just broke right through it, right? So, I mean, I think you can look at Bitcoin, every time we have one of these top to bottom cycles, it almost always hits the 61.8% retracement, or you can call it the 61.8 to 65% area, the golden pocket. That is right here around 48 up to 50. If you look at it, if you go back through every single cycle, top to bottom, at some point in the cycle, by the way, before it goes way back down, it generally tends to hit that sort of golden pocket right here. So I could see this pushing up to 48.50, but man, we were already way over where I thought we'd be going at this point, to be quite honest. So it's hard for me to really, get very excited about much higher targets in the short term.
All right, so Scott Melker is a big Bitcoin bull. And he's surprised how far this market has run up. Everybody thought it would be stopping around 41, 42. Now it's at like 44. The next level of resistance seems to be about 48. So these guys are calling 48 as a potential big area of resistance. All right, so here's a clip with Stocks with Josh and some of his, they call it the Stock Squad. Let's see what they got to say.
Now, I'm going to tell you guys, at some point, this whole move up on Bitcoin is characteristic of what we should have expected after we came out of the crypto winter. This was absolutely characteristic. In the previous 3 cycles, when we come up from the lows, there's typically been a near 100% pickup or more. So we had to have a minimum of 100% pickup. So when we were at 30K, we knew that wasn't the end. If we didn't get it, it was going to send some shockwaves through the charters as to why we didn't, what could that possibly mean. But we did get it, right? Now, we've gotten to a point where if it stopped going any higher from this point forward, it would be characteristic of previous cycles. And one of the characteristics of previous cycles is after it makes this massive push up out of the winter, which is what we're seeing today, we then get a 100-day or 120-day slow bleed off to the halving event.
All right, so the previous cycle in 2020, the Bitcoin halving was in May 11th, 2020. And let's take a look at the charts. All right, so May 11th, 2020 is about right around this point, right? So this is when the halving happened. So Bitcoin halving, in case you don't know, is the supply of Bitcoin that gets rewarded to the Bitcoin miners. It gets cut in half. So there's a big decrease in supply. And it doesn't really happen on a certain date. It happens after so many transactions have occurred. So this is only an estimate of when the next halving is supposed to happen. But in 2020, it happened in May 11th. So this is the big run-up. So this was the winter, and this was the big run-up they were talking about. And this is characteristic of what we're seeing now. And now this is the long bleed off that they were referring to, right? And then there's a big price drop down here, big sudden drop off here. So Scott also said a similar thing, in which this is very characteristic of previous cycles. Now, what they didn't say was this is happening a lot sooner than previous cycles. So as you can see, the previous cycle, it is around June, July when the peak happened, and then there was a big bleed off and then the halving event. Well, now it's like December, right? It's in December, and if the ETF is supposed to be approved in January, and then the halving is supposed to happen around April of next year, that compresses the time by a lot. It's a lot different. We don't have that much time, so it could be a little bit different. And one of the people I follow, Invest Answers, he has noticed this trend. Let's see what he has to say about that.
Saying for months, and this is basically a real and compelling narrative we have. Bitcoin bull run is incredible. US ETF is launching within less than a month. There's huge market buoyancy, huge institutional demand, and the money hasn't even started flowing yet. And unlike 2019 recovery, this is fueled by kind of the Plus token scheme, and the current surge is based on fundamental factors, which makes it very different and very exciting. Again, much faster than past cycles, and the current drawdown lasted for a shorter period than previous cycles as well, I'd like to note too. So that is also good. Now,
all right, so yeah, what he's saying and what the other guys did mention is, yeah, this is a much shorter cycle, and there's this BlackRock ETF happening. So this long bleed out that they're talking about, I honestly don't know if that will happen. If it does, it might be a short bleed out, maybe a big violent drop like this, and then recovery till up to the halving event. But what usually happens after the halving event is prices go just bananas, right? So they go boom right after the halving event. So the play here, and none of this is financial advice. I am not a professional financial advisor of any kind. But my play would be wait for it to drop after this run up, right? Assuming there is a big drop, and then buy it and then hold it till probably end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So those are the market updates that I have for you guys today. Thanks.